Welcome to this author Q&A with Mariah Tyler Moore about her upcoming release, Sweet Little Unforgettable Thing. To start, Mariah, can you give us a very brief synopsis of your book?
Of course, I'm very excited to tell you about this novel. So, what if the thing that made you feel most broken was actually the source of your greatest power? So, Sweet Little Unforgettable Thing is about Brynna, a woman who is actually starving to death in what looks like a perfect suburban marriage. She has this hunger that no food can satisfy because it's actually a deep biological need for connection and pleasure that I call in the book soul essence. She's been taught her whole life that this need makes her broken and shameful and wrong. But her true breaking point comes when she realizes it's not a psychological disorder the way she is. It's a supernatural inheritance. She's a Pyre, which is a half-Vampyre, and her attempt to live a normal life is actually killing her. Her journey of self-discovery collides with a 300-year-old prophecy and a powerful vampire lord, not to mention a sexy one, who has been searching for her for that entire 300 years. It begins as a story about one woman's survival, but what it becomes is something about systemic change, found family, and a radical revolution that could either unite warring worlds or burn them both to the ground.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. So what inspired you to write this book? Do you relate to any of the characters?
To be truthful, this book came from a deeply personal place, but it also came from my wild imagination running totally free. I write in the foreword that it was born out of my own hunger, and I meant that. There are echoes of my own experiences woven throughout, that feeling of being told I'm too much, of needing to shrink myself to fit into spaces that weren't designed for me. I dedicated this book to anyone who's ever been told to tone it down, because I really know what that feels like. But Brynna's story, the vampires, the prophecy, the supernatural war, that's pure Mariah Tyler Moore imagination. That's me taking all those feelings, like that sense of not belonging or of having needs that felt too big, and asking myself, what if that wasn't a flaw? What if that was magic? I wanted to write a story about what happens when a woman who has spent her whole life making herself small finally decides to take up space, to embrace herself, to refuse to apologize for her own light. This story really was never separate from a love story or a story about systemic change. It absolutely started with her personal struggle with Brynna's suffocation in a marriage built on conditional love. But that toxic relationship is a mirror of the oppressive society she lives in. So the book asks, how can you have a healthy relationship in an unhealthy system? And the answer is, you can't. It's only when she finds that love is supposed to be liberating, with Waylon, with her found family, that Brynna gains the power to fight for systemic change. The personal then becomes political, so the love story is the revolution. And because of all that, I absolutely relate most to Brynna. Her voice is, in many ways, an amplified version of my own experiences and my own emotions, filtered through this fantastical lens of magic. But I also deeply relate to her found family, Nathaniel, Laminda, Grayson, and Waylon, because these people, they find each other in the wreckage and decide to build something beautiful together. That's what I want. That's what I yearn for. And they represent the kind of radical acceptance and community that I value most in my own life.
Wow, that gives me all the feels. Okay, next question. What do you hope readers walk away with after reading Sweet Little Unforgettable Thing?
More than anything, I hope readers walk away with a sense of what I call radical resilience. Don't shrink. Don't make yourself smaller just to make other people comfortable. Brynna's entire journey is about learning that her deepest, most consuming needs, that hunger, is not a source of shame. Those things are the source of her power, and I want readers to feel that in their bones. I hope people close this book feeling empowered to embrace their own hunger, whatever that may be. The need for more connection, more passion, more authenticity, whatever it is, your hunger is not a flaw. It's a compass pointing you toward a life that will actually nourish you. And you deserve to be nourished. We all do. The things we think make us broken, those are our superpowers.
Let's talk about literature in general for a second. What are a couple of books you've read that you really loved?
Oh, I read as much as I write, and I've been on a huge fantasy kick lately. I just started Alchemized by SenLinYu, and I'm completely hooked already. There's something about a well-crafted romance set against impossible odds that just gets me every time. I'm also rereading The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett like I do every few years. That book is a masterclass in storytelling and character development spanning generations, and it reminds me of why I love stories that sprawl across time and consequence. I also just finished book 2 of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, and I'm obsessed. Sanderson's ability to build these intricate mythical worlds while keeping the focus on the character's internal growth is exactly what I aspire to in my own writing. And that balance of the fantastical and the deeply personal, that's the sweet spot for me.
I'm a big Brandon Sanderson fan too. Okay, to finish up, is there anything else you want us to know about your book?
Yes, definitely. I want readers to know that this book is meant to be felt, so don't rush it. Let yourself wallow in Brynna's pain, revel in her victories, and sit with the uncomfortable moments. This is a book that asks you to look at your own hungers, the things you've been taught to hide or be ashamed of, and reconsider them entirely. It's not always an easy journey, but I promise it's a transformative one. And if you're someone who's ever felt like you don't fit, like you're too much or not enough, like you're broken in some fundamental way, the same way I feel, this book is for you. You are the exact reader I wrote this for. And I can't wait for you all to meet Brynna and Waylon, to walk beside them, and to discover what happens when we stop apologizing for who we are and start building the world we want, the world that we deserve.